Good morning and welcome to the ADS Securities Markets Update. Beginning with the Asian session today, there were a collection of economic releases and events from New Zealand and Australia which had a notable impact on the markets. Beginning with New Zealand, the PPI figures came in with an unexpected decline. The PPI input unexpectedly fell by 1% in Q2 comparing to a rise of the same rate in Q1, while it had been anticipated to rise by 0.7%, which is the first decline since the fourth quarter of last year and the biggest quarterly decline since Q3 of 2012. The PPI output also unexpectedly declined by 0.5% in Q2 comparing to a rise of 0.9% in Q1, while the estimates were to rise by 0.8%. This is also the first quarterly decline since Q4 of last year and the biggest since Q3 of 2012. As a result, the Kiwi tumbled across the board, declining the most against the Aussie, which fell by around 70 pips to as low as 0.9026, and against the US dollar with a decline of more than 40 pips to reaching as low as 0.8426 so far. In Australia, the RBA meeting minutes came in unchanged as expected, and the bank reiterated that the current policy is appropriate and the period of stable rates is likely. Therefore, the Aussie also advanced across the board, rising the most against the Kiwi, which added more than 70 pips, reaching as high as 1.1079 so far. As for the European session today, we will be focusing on some data sets from the Eurozone and the UK, which is likely to have a notable impact on the markets as well, especially those figures from the UK. Beginning with the Eurozone, the current account surplus is expected to narrow slightly to 19.3 billion euros in June, down from 19.5 billion in May, which would be the second monthly decline in a row. In the UK, all eyes will be headed toward the inflation figures. The year-over-year CPI is expected to ease back slightly to 1.8 in July comparing to 1.9 in June, and the core CPI is also expected to decline slightly to 1.9%, down from 2% during the same period. Finally, the year-over-year house price index may rise for the third month in a row and may post an increase of 11.2% in June, up from 10.5% in May, which would be the highest rate since 2010. As for the US session today, we will be focusing also on some housing and inflation figures from the US, while there is no economic releases from Canada. The building permits is expected to rise again to 1 million in July, up from 0.97 million in June, and the housing start may also rise to 0.97 million, up from 0.89 million during the same period. As for the inflation figures, the month-over-month CPI is expected to rise slightly by 0.1% in July, comparing to a rise of 0.3 in June, and finally the core CPI may rise by 0.2%, comparing to 0.1% during the same period. This is it for today. You can follow us on our social media sites, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube to get the latest economic releases, reports, and analysis. Thank you for watching.